Yo, 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 welcome to another episode of Book Club with Kate and Kelly, a podcast where I read books and I talk about them on a podcast live on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch so you can improve your health, your wealth, your health, your wealth, your peace, and your wisdom. Sorry, I'm distracted because I got that new music. Playing at the beginning. Did you hear that? Did you catch that? I paid a guy $50 to write a 60-second lo-fi introduction to this podcast for me. So that's mine, baby. That's ours. That's going to be the music from now on. And Mashed Potatoes is already in the chat. You hear my breathing and typing. Very unsettling. Yes. I forgot to mute my microphone while I was sending an email, and I'm sorry about that. So that is a little disturbing, but sometimes that's what you get around here. The podcast. Keep going on the introduction, huh? So yeah, we're here. Dude, there's no music playing. You didn't hear any music playing? Oh man. I wonder if I muted it. Here, okay, well, let me do this then. I'm gonna go back and fix the properties. Oh yeah, it muted output. How about now? Let's listen to it again. Yo, welcome to another episode of Book Club with Kate and Kelly. Yes, this is take 2 to the introduction because I didn't have the music playing the first time, so we're doing it again. Welcome to the podcast. This is a podcast where I read books and I talk about them live so you can improve your health, your wealth, your wisdom, and your peace. I do it live on Monday mornings. Right now it's 9:45 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. This is the time I like to do the podcast, but usually, it's a little unpredictable, but that's fine. So we're doing it live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You could join us live. Mashed Potatoes in the chat. You could join Mashed Potatoes by going to my blog and finding the links to YouTube or Facebook or Twitch. The blog is kateandkellysblog.wordpress.com. I got links to all of that. I got links to my other socials. I post a blog once a week in there. Whole bunch of content for you to improve your life, become better people, healthier, wealthier, all of that. That's the goal around here. That's what we're trying to do. I'm trying to do it for myself, and then I do the podcast to keep myself accountable. And the right thing to do is to share what I'm learning with you so you can improve your life as well. Hey, Mashed Potatoes says that was gorgeous, but you could have written it low-key. You know what? I probably could have, but that was an executive decision I made to divvy that, or outsource for that. Because, you know what? I kept getting marked or docked or something from YouTube for posting. I actually spent $60 or $1 on the lo-fi music that used to play so that I could use it for the podcast. It was also considered non-copyright, whatever. I don't want to get in trouble, but YouTube would flag all my episodes because of the music. So I was gonna write my own intro. I did for the really long time ago podcast. I wonder if I still have that. But I just found a guy on Fiverr Wanted a lo-fi introduction. That was the first take that he made too. He got it to me within like 3 hours for $50. I'm not gonna complain over it. I actually don't even have any my recording stuff set up for music right now anyway, so it would have been a pain to try to get that. And a drum kit and the looping, and anyway, he did a good job. This guy did a good job. But that's our music from now on, baby. That's the book club theme song, and I'm gonna try to put that over my TikToks and the Instagram videos too. So anyway, welcome. Yeah, it's 9:45 Mountain Standard Time, November 7th, and this is the time. This is a good time to do this, to do the podcast. This is what the time I like to do it. Spend my mornings focused on this. How's everyone doing? Huh? Do some crowd work. How are we feeling today? I'm still congested from my cold from last week. It's been like 9 days, and I'm still congested, but I'm feeling way better than I did. I was feeling like shit last week. All week I felt bad. A colds usually lasts like a couple days, right? A few days. It's been 9 days. Anyway, so I'm feeling better though. Went to the gym. Today was the first day back in the gym. I've been riding the bike, doing the kettlebell workouts here, just lightweight kettlebells. But I went to yoga yesterday for the first time in a month. Getting sick screwed everything up. Going on the cruise screwed everything up, and then getting sick again, dude. It's been a shitty last 3 weeks. It's actually really depressing to go that long without working hard on what's important, on my goals, on my exercise goals, my fitness goals, my cardio goals, my yoga goals. It sucks. I went to yoga yesterday. I was going to write about it yesterday, but I ended up finishing the book that we're talking about today. So I didn't get to write about it, but I went to yoga yesterday and got my ass kicked because I haven't done it in 3 weeks, and the heat was extra hot. I was like weaker than normal. I've also gained 12 pounds, and you can't tell because I got a big flannel on right now. But when I got sick 3 weeks ago, I got down to like 170, and then I started that steroid and have been, my colon is fine now. It feels fine. Oh, shit, I got to actually take that. I haven't taken my medicine yet. I might have to pause this and go do that. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to finish what I'm saying. I started the medicine. I started feeling better. I went on the cruise. Spent 5 days gorging on crap. And then came home, got sick again, and haven't been able to exercise, and still taking the medicine, the steroids, and eating more than normal. Yeah, anyway, yesterday I clocked in at 181 and a half or something like that, and it's depressing, dude. It's not depressing. It's not that depressing. But just getting off track from what I want, where I want to be physically, conditionally, and then going to yoga and then going to the gym today. Like I could feel I feel the difference. I feel the losses. I feel the weakness. I look, I'm getting pudgier in areas of my face and my hips and my butt. Dude, my butt, all of the weight goes straight to my butt and my quads, my legs. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, Caden doesn't skip leg day. But it's not me, I swear. It's my genetics. Mashed potatoes, yeah, dude, 180 kings come up to 185. The water is fine. 180 kings. Oh, are you up? You're up in 180s right now, too? Weren't you down to, we were both down in the low 70s, weren't we? Did you get down there? So, but you're also lifting really heavy. You're putting on some big gains right now, which is what I kind of want to do. I'm trying to figure out if I should take bulking seriously and actually put on a bunch of weight, because I know that the best way to bulk is to not cut weight. You want to, right? You want to put it on, and then take a few months to lose some weight, lose the. Anyway, I gotta go take this medicine. So I'm gonna put this on pause and I'll be right back. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, we're back. We're back. Sorry about that. Thanks for being patient. Mashed potatoes only bulk if you're good at cutting and progressive overload, which you are. So I think you could get jacked, bro. What's progressive overload? I've never heard that term before. I think you're the best cutter that I know. Honestly, you especially back in the day, man. When it's time to cut, you know, there's no excuses for you. Maybe we should do it together. Because if you're like, you know what? I went to the SOAR. I've talked about SOAR before for my brothers. They've done that for, it's a, wow, what's the acronym? SOAR is an acronym for, it's like an adolescent recovery group. And the leader, who is Coach Hawkins' son, I don't remember his name, but he's the organizer, the founder, and he's jacked. And I was like, dude, I want to get jacked, but I also want to, you know, it was also probably a fleeting thought. I want to be jacked like him, but I don't know if that's as important as, you know, just doing yoga and feeling good and taking care of myself. Mashed potatoes, I definitely cut with you, maybe between Thanksgiving and Christmas. All right, well, let's talk about it. And we'll move on. So anyway, that's where we're at. Went back to the gym today for the first time, yoga for the first time yesterday, and I want to keep it up. And it feels good to be back. Yeah, so for now, oh, yeah, progressive overload is being mindful of trying to do one more rep or a little more weight each workout. Oh, yeah, so it's exactly how it sounds. Progressive overload. Yeah, I did one of those workouts I sent in our group chat with the kettlebells. I did swings and some squat thrusters with heavy kettlebells. I had 20 kilograms for the squat thrusts and the swings, and I did 10 reps on the swings, 8 reps on the thrusts, And I was like, I should probably up this to big time. I should because the money area is 5 or 6, and then failure, right? Do that for a few reps. Anyway, it wasn't heavy enough, but I think I need to get heavier. But also, they don't have heavier. They have 20 kilograms it's like 45 pounds. They actually do have 50 pounds, and they have one 60-pound kettlebell. But again, I went to at the SOAR facility over the weekend. I was looking at their equipment. They had 70, 80, 90-pound kettlebells. I mean, that'd be fun. Reps don't matter as much as that last rep really destroying you. Yeah, it's to the point of fatigue. So, oh yeah. I do remember reading something that the point is to get to the failure. So if you got to do 100 bodyweight squats, and then that 101st bodyweight squat is what breaks you, it's just as effective as doing, heavy load squats. And the number of reps don't matter as much. Yeah. So it's getting to that last rep that destroys you. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Sweet. Yeah. Okay. I love it. That's your exercise one. We're talking about health here, baby. We're here improving our health. Mashed Potatoes, he's a pro, and his wife is a personal trainer. Both of them are jacked and very wise, so he's worth listening to. Let's get into the book, shall we? I got so much to share on this book today. Let's go for it. Recapture the Rapture by Jamie Wheal. Rethinking God, sex, and death in a world that's lost its mind. Wow, this book was quite the mind fuck. I was a little bit skeptical of it starting it, but wow, I got way into it, and I kind of regret, or not regret, but I'm a little upset that I wasn't as into it at the beginning. I think I would have gotten more if I had caught on to the book earlier. I'll explain it in a little bit. Jamie Wheal, here's our boy. It's always blurry, but there's our boy, Jamie Wheal. Jamie Wheal is the co-author. This is the biography from his book. Is the co-author of the global bestseller Stealing Fire: How Silicon Valley, the Navy SEALs, and maverick scientists are revolutionizing the way we live and work. And he's the founder of the Flow Genome Project, an organization dedicated to the research and training of human performance. His work and ideas have been covered in the New York Times, the Financial Times, Wired, and the Harvard Business Review, and Forbes. He lives near Colorado River with his wife, Julie, their 2 kids, and a golden retriever named Aslan. So let me tell you about this book. Let me tell you about Jamie Wheal, too. The first thing I did after I finished the book was I Googled, is Jamie Wheal a fraud? Because I'm getting skeptical of these guys with their incredible claims and research, or claims, really, without credentials. Remember, what was his face from, what was it? It was that one book, remember, with the guy with the personality or the behavior color quiz? And he was this research or the study behind his claims was fraudulent, or at least it just wasn't. It's not supported by anybody. It's like astrology. Remember that episode? So I went and did a little bit of research on Jamie, and I couldn't find any, or didn't really see any specific credentials, but I think he's more of a researcher than he is a scientist. This book is, I actually think it's a sequel to that book, Stealing Fire. He has over 10 years of research and interviews and studies that he references. So, and that's what the whole book is. It's a whole bunch of studies and references to all of the claims that he makes. So the answer is no, I don't think he's a fraud. But he does have these, like the Flow Genome Project. his goal in life, it sounds like, is to make the world a better place, and that's a really good goal. And it's $7,000 at a time. If you want to, it's one of those things where you could sign up for crash courses on how to apply the lessons from this book. And yeah, it's not, it's really expensive, but it's his business. It's his business. So, yeah, he's kind of trying to sell stuff, but at the same time, we're gonna talk about all of these things, and you don't need to spend $7,000 on his crash courses to apply these lessons. So let's get into it. I'm really excited. I really like this. I really ended up liking this book, and it's the book with the most notes I've taken, and it's not even close. This was the most comprehensive study I've had ever, and I'm a little worried about taking. I'm still planning on keeping this between 60 to 90 minutes, and we're already 21 minutes in, but I'm gonna, I gotta consolidate a lot of this info. So I might skip over some stuff, or I might spend too long on one thing and have to skip over some other stuff. Anyway, let's just get into it. Recapture the Rapture. The introduction. Well, are you familiar with the word rapture? Do you know what rapture means? Because there's like lowercase rapture and uppercase rapture. There's like a secular version and a religious version. Religious version. There's a secular and a religious version to the word rapture. So, in the secular version of rapture means a feeling of intense pleasure or joy. The religious context is, according to some millenarian teachings, the rapture is the transporting of believers to heaven at the second coming of Christ. So he goes back and forth between lowercase rapture, uppercase rapture, but the idea is, I think the idea follows mostly this idea of secular lowercase rapture, which is intense pleasure or joy. So his logic stems from 4 key beliefs that make up rapture ideology. The world is doomed. There's a point in the near future where everything will change. On the other side of that, everyone we value will be saved. So let's get there ASAP with no concern for the world we're leaving behind. That sounds like uppercase rapture, right? Religious rapture. And that's what is basically what's going to happen at the second coming of Christ. He'll come, and the world as we know it will burn and be cleansed and then be changed forever, and we're going to leave it behind. And everyone that we love and value will be saved. So those are the 4 key beliefs that make up rapture ideology. The world is doomed. There's a point in the future where everything will change. Everyone we value will be saved, and we'll have no concern for the world we're leaving behind. Why would we more from the introduction. He makes the same point that I've heard several other people make. I think this is my take on colonizing Mars. Where are you going with this? I say, why would we consider terraforming another planet when our own planet desperately needs our help? If we can terraform another planet, why not fix the one we're on? Yeah, I mean, Elon Musk wants to go colonize Mars, and because he says it's our only chance for the continuation of our species. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't at some point be involved in space travel and colonizing other planets, but if we have the ability, or if we can conceive of what to do to terraform an uninhabitable planet, then why aren't we? Okay, if we could conceive that, then we should be able to, in my monkey brain, fix the planet we're on if we're actually headed down a terrible course of climate change and ozone destruction and this, that, and the other. So if we can terraform another planet, why not start with fixing the one that we're on? Like making this planet that we're on, sustainable. Anyway, our desire to believe it'll all work out somehow lies between wishful thinking and learned hopelessness. The chaos of the end of the world distracts us from a collaborative effort to repair the damages. Okay, so can you see where I'm going? The world as we know it is collapsing and failing and struggling, and these are his claims. And we as people, we use religious contexts of rapture to expedite our ascension into heaven away from this corrupt planet and people, with no regard for the world we're leaving behind is the main idea. So he's claiming the world is screwed, and something needs to change. We either need Jesus to come back, or we need to create a new sense of meaning in the world, which we'll get into in a little bit. So, but he says, yes, the chaos of the end of the world distracts us from a collaborative effort to, I say this, not him, because I'm proud of this note. The chaos of the end of the world distracts us from a collaborative effort to repair the damages. We're all at each other's throat, and we are unable or unwilling to work together to save ourselves. Whatever talk there is about nuclear war, I try not to be involved in the doomsday conversations, but nukes exist anyway, and what are we going to do about it, right? Or what can we do, or how should we behave because of this? Because there's conflict in the world amongst powerful people with nukes. The chaos distracts us from a collaborative effort to repair the damages that we've caused on the earth, at which there are damages. The intention of this book is to answer questions like how to replace blind faith with direct experience, how to move from broken to whole, and how to cure isolation with connection. Awesome questions. Let's get into it. Part 1, choose your own apocalypse. Okay, lots of notes. So to summarize part 1 quickly, he really is making the case that the world is falling apart, or that there are big problems with the world now, and he not really suggesting that it's irreversible, that the damages that have been caused are irreversible, or that we're screwed, but we will be screwed if we continue to not help each other or not be part of a solution to all the problems that are in the world. So I'll go through it a little quick. He references Steven Pinker. Remember Steven Pinker? We read The Enlightenment Now. Is that what it was? Yeah, Enlightenment Now. That the world is a better place to live in now than it ever was before. Yeah, that's Steven Pinker's claim. The Enlightenment brought about here's the case I want to make too. I guess I'll input my opinion here. The world is. It's not even an opinion. The world, there's less poverty in the world today than there ever has been before. Fewer. I should have maybe written this down, but fewer homeless people, less famine, less poverty, less disease and sickness and death from childbearing, and the world has never been safer or better to live in than at any other time in human history. That doesn't mean that it's perfect or that there aren't other problems that we're introducing, but the whole case for Enlightenment Now by Steven Pinker was the world is better now than it ever has been before. That being said, his point is, yes, the world is statistically a better place to live, but we're still continuing to create new problems, and they're going to contribute to the annihilation of the human race. Another problem to what we have today, technology has the introduction of technology has contributed to a lot of the good things that the world has today, a lot of the better and safer and healthier things that we have, but it has also contributed to other problems like distancing ourselves from others, like through social media. We think we're connecting with people, but we're actually causing more distance through artificial connection. We think that we're connecting, but we're not. The internet allows us to see more problems in the world. It circulates bad news way better. We're aware of so much more bad news. Not that there's more bad news in the world than there was, but but we just see it more, and it's blown up way worse. And our monkey brains are programmed to react more intensely to bad news than to good news. So even though there's still good news in the world, we think that there's more bad news. We think that things are way worse than they've been. I can't remember who. Some of the books have talked about this. I gotta stop playing with this pen. I fidget, man. I fidget when I chat. Our brains are programmed to be more appalled to bad news than to be pleased by good news. So when someone tweets something, or I guess most news just, and here's the problem too. We know that social media uses their algorithms to put bad news in front of us, because putting bad news in front of us gets more engagement on their platforms, which drives up revenue for Facebook, for Twitter, for Twitch. I guess Twitch, but for TikTok. Bad news engages the audience more than good news. So, and these companies, these social media platforms are publicly traded companies that are trying to increase revenue, so they want to increase engagement. And it's just taking advantage of our biology. Our biology is more engaged in bad news than good news. Okay, I'm spending way too much time on this topic. The point is, all of these things that humans have created to improve the quality of life and to progress innovation have also contributed to damages in our psychology, our physiology. It's made us, it's made us sadder and less healthy, less connected to people, more upset, more outraged, which in turn makes us do dumb things and think dumb things and say dumb things and behave in dumb ways. It causes lots of problems. That's the point I'm trying to make. So that's mostly that's just chapter 1, baby. We're just getting started. He says in chapter 1, in 2015, the Pew Center posted that the spiritual but not religious group became the largest and fastest growing category of belief in the USA. This is 2015. He calls them the nuns. N-O-N-E-S. See how he does that? Instead of N-U-N-S, the N-O-N-E-S, nuns, are the fastest growing and largest category of belief in the USA in 2015. People are losing faith, and he says this is a problem because this just further contributes. I don't need this pen. I don't want to play with the pen. Just further contributes to the feelings of meaninglessness in the world. People feel less meaning in their lives. Religion gives meaning to people. It helps answer deep questions like, why am I here? Where am I going? And what's my purpose in life? Religion answers those questions for a lot of people. And just so the point here is, people are still spiritual. They want spirituality, but they don't believe in traditional religions. So they're losing meaning in life. All right, let's keep going. This is all connected. This is all connected. Chapter 2 is called Stop Making Sense. It's more descriptions on the problems we're facing: climate, geopolitics, social unrest, pandemics, and the collapse of meaning. He implies we're due for a catastrophe that could end civilization as we know it. It's big claims. I think it's kind of dramatic. I think people have been talking about the end of the world or the end of times or the second coming of Christ or whatever your religion propagates for the end of the world for a long time. And not to say that it's not going to happen, but it hasn't happened yet, and it probably won't happen. So, but the attitude is it's just right around the corner. It's been right around the corner for a lot of years now. So he shares 3 key drivers that affect our ability to make sense of the future: our cognitive complexity, our sacred cows, and our ability to grieve. Quote, if we aren't able to develop a cognitive complexity to handle all of these problems, coral reef destruction, government distrust, big pharma scandals are the examples he uses, some examples he uses. If we aren't able to develop the cognitive complexity to handle all of these, and if we hold on to our sacred cows because shooting them feels like we're killing everything we hold near and dear, then we will have no choice but to reject it all. Quote, cynicism is so deep on all sides that it's become incredibly tempting to conclude that the entire system needs to come down. Burn it all to the ground, right? Burn it all to the ground, defund the police, revolutions, riots. This seems like the only solution to our corrupt political system, the corrupt healthcare, corrupt all of this. The only solution, burn it all down. I've heard that a few times, especially defund the police. That was huge, right? They see that when there's some major social injustice or big government scandal, political scandal, corporation scandal, it seems like the only solution, burn it all down. We jump to extremes. It's not a logical way to approach problems. It's very extreme, and he shares 3 better ways to make sense of our future: cognitive complexity, which is our ability to hold competing and conflicting scenarios in our heads without breaking our mental browser. We need a cognitive complexity, sacred cows, and our ability to grieve. He shares. We'll talk about finite games and infinite games later on. I don't need to. Whoa, what was that beep? That was a weird beep. We don't need to get into it now. What we need now more than ever is to set aside our differences and tribalism and work together as a human race to fix the problems humanity and civilization face. Yes, we must. That's, we have to set aside our differences, and we have to stop being assholes to each other if we want to solve problems. But it requires a lot of humility, and it requires patience, and also you got to kind of set aside that, I believe that we're right. There's not me myself, but the Western politics, the United States. If the United States were to work with Russia and China and Ukraine and all of Europe and South Africa, and if we are going to work together, which is ultimately the best thing that we can do for to save humanity, or at least to continue progressing humanity, we gotta set aside the differences that we face. We can't continue to tear each other down. It's such a complex problem, but just like you personally should try to be reasonable with, if you have a relative that holds opposing beliefs or holds opposing political views, are you gonna be at war with them your entire life, or are you gonna be cordial and work together and still be friendly but still hold your beliefs and talk about them rationally and reasonably? We should be able to do that as a human race through the globe. We're a globalized world now. We don't just operate by country by country. We operate all together. We work together. We have to work together, especially to help each other. The problem is we all have different ideas of how the world should. Not we all. different countries have different ideas of how the world should be, how things should be. And that's because of culture and society and hundreds of years of of like solidifying beliefs and culture before we were able to talk about them. Maybe thousands of years of cultural evolution it really was isolated, and now we are able to talk to each other and observe how we behave. But Russia thinks the world should be one way, China, Ukraine, England, United States, Mexico, whatever. Mashed potatoes. Oh yeah, baby, this guy is speaking my language, withholding two ideas in your without freaking. I think you meant in your head without freaking out. Yeah, just like we were talking about at breakfast the other day. That's the cognitive complexity, holding competing and conflicting scenarios in our heads without breaking our mental browser. It's hard, man. That's hard to do, especially for people that are, I think most people are probably a little stubborn or a little selfish or a little ignorant, and they get an idea that makes sense and then they reject other ideas. But that's not a healthy approach to life. You'll remain in the dark, you'll remain ignorant, and you can't progress if all of your opinions are hard are firm. You should, like we were discussing, I think there are some things that you should have a firm stance on, but most things you should be flexible on, especially when it comes to a lot of nuances with geopolitical conversations and decisions. Whatever. Let's keep going. Let me get some water. Chapter 3, it's called We Are the World. I made a list of several themes in this chapter. He talks about melting ice caps, garbage at the Mariana Trench, and Mount Everest, the highest and lowest points of the world that we're able to reach. Tribalism, the us against them mentality, overexposure to bad news, and our tendency to have bigger reactions to bad news over good news. Yeah, did I talk about that? Corporations manipulating our biochemistry for engagement on their platforms for profit. Political figures manipulating the system and people for their benefit. 58%, and then he shares a statistic. 58% of American evangelicals believe the second coming will occur before 2050. I shared most of those things already. So tribalism is probably that's the one where like the cultures develop over time and we are unable to break out of our preconceived notions of how the world is supposed to be, because for thousands of years before us, our people, our tribe have done these things for these reasons. And now you over on this part of the globe have done the exact opposite, and that's wrong, and you need to behave and do the things that we do. That's tribalism. But we're not tribes anymore. We're one human species. We're globalized. Globalization. Chapter 4, Designing Meaning 3.0. He shares meaning 1.0 and 2.0 earlier in the book, but right here, I've saved that for now. So, meaning 1.0 was organized religion. It was meaning through salvation. For a long time in our human evolution and our human history, before science, before the discovery of science and really like before human equality, when it was kings and alphas and monarchs, everybody found salvation and meaning through religion, organized religion, and and then wars were fought over religion, etc. Meaning 1.0 is we found meaning through our salvation, through religion. Meaning 2.0 was the introduction or the acceptance of individual inalienable rights to everyone regardless of belief or background. This is meaning through inclusion. This was the Enlightenment era. This was the Constitution, the Declaration of not the Declaration, the Constitution. We the people. Everyone has freedom, should have freedom. This is meaning 2.0, and it was it's like it's all of Steven Pinker's Enlightenment now is meaning 2.0. The interesting thing to me is meaning 1.0 worked until people kind of, I don't know if the people got sick of it or they just tried to include that like all lives are important, right? That not like not just kings or not just the king's servants, but all of the people, and including the slaves, including slave people, are their lives have meaning. This is meaning 2.0. It was all inclusive. This is the Enlightenment era, and then he suggests that both meaning 1.0 and 2.0 have failed, and that we need to develop a meaning 3.0 that will be a mix, that should be a mix of inclusivity and salvation. I made a note. I said, it seems like he's moving along the lines of humans found meaning through salvation. That crumbled in the modern world due to science or the Enlightenment or inclusivity. This is meaning 2.0. And then what he argues is also failing because the world is falling apart because of recent generations ravaged the world's resources for wealth at our expense. Yeah, we're losing meaning 2.0 because of all the things that we listed, right? Maybe I'll share them again really quick. The world's on fire. Everything's, ice caps are melting. There's garbage all over the place. Tribalism, bad news, corporations manipulating us, political figures manipulating us, political or social injustices in the world. Like it seems like we're losing meaning in the world as we know it. And again, it's tough to make the case like to be certain that we've all lost meaning, but that was kind of why I struggled with this book from as I started, was because he just would say, yeah, look at social media, look how everyone's at each other's throats, the world's falling apart, and I'm like, I don't really agree with that. But his solution to, as we're gonna talk about meaning 3.0, what his solution to the world's problems are, I really, really, really like. So whether the world is actually falling apart or we just think it's falling apart, but it's not, it is sixes to me at this point. What's really important is to develop this new sense of meaning in the world that really will transcend our ability to cooperate and to find deeper personal meaning and continue to progress and maybe eventually colonize Mars. Page 78, that's what this book is about. Bring a human-centered design process to the challenge of making. Part 1 of the book is deeply understanding our need for exponential meaning. Part 2 is the prototyping possible solutions. And Part 3 is implementing ideas to the larger world. Okay, so core concepts to developing meaning 3.0. It needs to be open source, scalable, and anti-fragile. It needs to include inspiration, healing, and connection. And then there's 5 drivers that meaning 3.0 should be centered around. And those are they're the 5 chapters of part 2. I'll go over them in a second. So he attempts to develop these 5 elements of meaning 3.0 to be open source, scalable, anti-fragile. Open source meaning like available to everybody, right? Hold on. Maybe I didn't write any notes. What does open source mean? not open source software. What do you mean by publicly acceptable? Yeah, anyone can see, modify, and distribute. Yeah, okay. So it's available to everyone. Open source, available to everyone. Scalable, that it can grow. Wow, I'm forgetting definitions to these things. Scalable, so it can like be reproduced. I should have just written down the definitions, man. I thought I was going to remember. Yeah, scalable so that it can be reproduced at large scale for everybody. So it's available. We can reproduce it for everybody. And anti-fragile, meaning that it's not going to be destroyed over time. It also needs to be inspiring, healing, and connecting. Okay, let's go on. So let's talk about the 5 elements of Meaning 3.0. They are respiration, embodiment, sexuality, substances, and music. These are the 5 things that are the most free, the most scalable, the most able to reproduce, and the most anti-fragile, according to him. Respiration, embodiment, sexuality, substances, and music. Let's talk about them. Part 2, the Alchemist Cookbook. Those are the 5 ingredients to the Alchemist Cookbook. Respiration. An interesting first element to the Alchemist Cookbook, our breath, but a lot of the books that I've read talk about the significance of breath, and he's took an entire chapter, 30 pages, to go over all of the significant things that breath and different kinds of breathing exercises and techniques can do for our brain and our body. So much of mindfulness and awareness starts with the breath. I always thought it was corny, but he uses lots of scientific evidence to show how correct breathing has a big impact on our bodies and brains. So the whole chapter is dedicated to research and experiments on breathing and what breathing does for us. And at the end, towards the end of the chapter, I'm going to cherry pick the information. There's a chapter on most of the discoveries that he makes, things that he discusses. So here's what he says from the book. So what would it look like to combine all of the respiratory practices we've just explored into one integrated vital respiration protocol? Here are all of the respiration protocol, all of the things he discussed. Warm up with box breathing to increase our CO2 tolerances and diaphragmatic control. Master the free diver's vagal breathing to lower our heart rates. Blow off excess CO2 with Groff's holotropic hyperventilating. Supersaturate our red blood cells by pre-breathing pure oxygen. And then practice gas-assisted static apnea with a 70-30 nitrous oxide oxygen blend or a 30-70 carbon dioxide oxygen blend. I'm not here to talk about the science or the experiments, but those are like to optimize. The reason that he uses respiration as this is because it's, everybody breathes, but we can learn how to breathe better to change to positively impact our brains and our bodies. There's power in the breath, man. I'll tell you. Yesterday in yoga, we did a warm up with a breathing technique warm up where we laid on our backs and we did a box breathing of 4, 7, 8. So it was inhale for 4. Yeah, it was 4, 7, 8. Oh no, we didn't even. Yeah. Anyway, inhale for 4 counts. Hold for 7 counts. Exhale for 8 counts. But we didn't hold at the bottom, so I guess it wasn't it was like a pyramid breathing. Inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8. I don't know exactly what all of these, what specific breathing does, but I do remember watching a video from Andrew Huberman, the neuroscience guy, who he shared a really effective method to disrupting feelings of anxiety is to take a deep breath Oh, I'm still snotty. Sorry. Take a deep breath and then hold for, I can't remember how many counts. Hold for a few counts and then do a sharp exhale followed by a second sharp exhale. And you do that several times. Inhale. 2 exhales. I don't know what it does, but the research suggests it strongly disrupts anxiety, feelings of anxiety. So, yeah. Anyway, what we should do is know all of these breathing techniques. So, all sorts of breathing techniques, so we can. What happened to my stream? No, we're still here. So, anyway, that's where we're at with respiration. That's chapter 5. Chapter 6 is embodiment. This is our relationship to pleasure and pain in our body. And a lot of it is subjecting ourselves to sensations of discomfort and displeasure to experience pleasure and peace and a lot of the things that we've talked about. Like we go, remember reading, it's up here, Dopamine Nation. By subjecting ourselves to uncomfortable situations, to painful experiences like cold showers or exercise, we experience a drop. Or rather, if you're watching the video, you can see me do my thing with my hands. If we're neutral right in the middle, and we go do a cold shower, and our pleasure and the bar goes down because we're in a uncomfortable situation, and then we go, our body doesn't just like reset back to baseline. Our body compensates by adding extra dopamine. So we experience a surge in good sensations. So we're neutral, we get in the cold shower, we do an exercise, and we suffer for a period of time. Our body corrects these sensations by experiencing a high, and then it resets. So this is one method to experiencing more meaning. Some notes that I took from the chapter. Privation, pain, and suffering have an ancient and if counterintuitive relationship to healing. While we cannot manage the amount of pain that comes to us in these lives, if we choose to meet it on purpose and with intention, it can hold the key to healing. Tibetan Buddhism, Tonglen may be the best expression of this, he says. Tonglen. I did want to look that up. So it's Tonglen. What is Tonglen? Tonglen, from Wikipedia, Tonglen is Tibetan for giving and taking and refers to the meditation practice found in Tibetan Buddhism. Tong means giving or sending, and Len means receiving or taking. Tonglen is also known as exchanging self with other. It's the seventh slogan under the relative Bodhisattva in Lojong. Okay, I don't know how to practice it, but he suggests that Tonglen may be one of the best expressions of embodiment. From The Color Purple by some guy named Walker. The very thing that causes us to harden and our suffering to intensify can soften us and make us more decent and kinder people. By embracing suffering, we suffer less. No matter how complicated we make life with our culture and consciousness, we are biological creatures with very basic programming. The idea is we are learning about our biochemistry and what our bodies need to feel euphoria, and it isn't much. Things like food, sex, drugs. So I spend a ton of time in a ton of episodes talking about suffering and the benefits of subjecting yourself to some levels of suffering, going to the gym, doing cold showers, disciplining yourself when it comes to food, to sex, what else? Like video games, Netflix, TV, disciplining yourself by going to bed early, waking up early, showing up for a practice. Like you practice the piano every day, you practice guitar, you practice whatever, like practice a skill, discipline yourself with your family, spend time with your family. These things require some amount of discipline, and usually it can be uncomfortable. But the point is, we experience feelings of healing and growth and pleasure by subjecting ourselves to these voluntary forms of suffering. That's embodiment. Let's move on. Chapter 7, music. I got one quote here. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll weren't the end of civilization. They were its beginning. They've served as the building blocks of culture, heightening group cohesion, honing our ability to communicate, and providing glimpses into the sublime. Yeah, he shares evidence that music predates language. Music is a highly expressive form of communication, supposedly been around before our ability to talk to each other, which is fascinating if true. Music. So music's awesome. And this is another way to experience meaning in life. I can think of times and experiences where I've been listening to music and feeling strong emotions because of music, or because of singing, or because of drum patterns, whether it makes me like happy cry or sad cry, or like super pumped up, super joyful, super fun. Like music is a powerful, it's a, what would you describe it as? It's a powerful tool to enhance emotions and expression. So that's another way to feel deeper sense of meaning in life. Chapter 8 is called Sacrament, and this is the substances chapter. I should probably go blow my nose. I'm so gross, dude. I don't know why I'm still sick or still congested 9 days later. Chapter 8, Sacrament. He described how Native American sacrament uses peyote, which contains a hallucinogen. Says Christian sacraments of wine and bread are placebo sacraments supposed to bring you closer to Jesus, but things like peyote and other hallucinogens actually bring you to Jesus. This whole chapter, and a notion that he promotes is the use of drugs responsibly. And it's controversial. It's a controversial thing for, especially for my audience. It's probably mostly either Mormon or has Mormon background and doesn't do drugs. I don't do drugs. I've never done drugs. And I'm actually kind of scared of drugs. But I think that might stem from, one, my background of growing up anti-drug, and also only really hearing about negative experiences with drugs. But his argument is that drugs are so, who's the anthropologist that suggests that human evolution stems from our interaction, our relationship with hallucinogens? I have his note down here somewhere. We'll talk about it. But drugs are another cheap and accessible, anti-fragile, open source, and scalable tool to enhance meaning in life. Not just like always getting fucked up off of drugs, but using them. And in fact, he shares 3 areas that, here's the note. Even still, perhaps the best let me read this first. Seems like he's saying the issue with recreational psychedelics, he calls them entheogens, 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 is they can create superegos if taken for the wrong reasons. Yeah, there's lots of problems with taking recreational psychedelics all the time. Anyway, even still, perhaps the best time and for some people the only time, to consume sacramental entheogens or psychedelics should be at adolescence, marriage, and death. Sort of like a rite of passage for adolescents. So he suggests psilocybin for adolescents, MDMA for marriage, and 5-MeO-DMT for death, when you're on your deathbed. To get there, in Meaning 3.0, drugs need to be anti-fragile, legal without contradiction, and open source. Explicit ingredients described. There's lots of problems surrounding drugs. we're not. I don't even think we're close to. Like, he shares lots of. He shares lots of research for MDMA treating PTSD, severe PTSD. And there's just so much evidence, it seems, to suggest that psychedelics have tons of healing properties and can enhance our life experience. Honestly, I'm terrified of drugs, but I would love to have to start really small and take something like shrooms. I'm really afraid of tripping and getting sick. I know that's kind of part of the whole experience, but I want to experience really subtly drugs and then go from there. I would want to. He shares how impactful psilocybin would be for adolescents as a rite of passage, because what drugs can do for people is change their perspective of the world, how they feel about themselves, how they view themselves in the world, how they view other people, their experience, their place in the world. And it can be a humbling experience. But again, if you're taking it because you want to get fucked up for a party, it's just you're going to have a different experience and different outcomes. It can make you extremely egocentric and also, can ruin the quality of your life. So it's not to suggest that we should be doing drugs all the time. That's not his point. The point is include them in significant events in your life and to enhance experiences. All right. Chapter 9 and Chapter 10 are on sex. And this is where I start getting tons of fucking notes. So I'm going to do a little skimming and just maybe go quick through these notes. Evolution doesn't care for our preferences, promises, or taboos. Only the survival of our genes. So romance will fade, people will cheat, and relationships will crumble, but they don't always have to. Terence McKenna theorized Homo sapiens evolved through psychedelic experiences. That's the guy, or gal. I think it's a guy. Terence McKenna. He's the one that suggests humans evolved through psychedelic experiences. Jared Diamond, anthropologist, concludes a different theory. Quote, growing bigger brains didn't create our sexual habits, as Freud would have insisted. Instead, our sexual habits created our bigger brains. And then my note is they probably both contributed. Sex and drugs. Humans are unique in that sex is pleasant and social, although not alone in this, and that sexual selection makes for women keeping breasts outside of nursing, slimmer waists, bigger butts, things that won't help a person survive. They're specifically designed for sex. And then for men, sexual selection makes bigger than useful penises. So, our Mother Nature doesn't care for our preferences, promises, or taboos. For some reason, through thousands of years of evolution, Mother Nature has given us a different approach to sex, given humans. Humans aren't the only animals that use sex recreationally or for pleasure. There's other. I remember research suggesting that some other animals, like dolphins and some bats, will engage in sex and like oral sex, presumably for pleasure or for social connections, for socially. But humans are unique that women maintain their breasts outside of pregnancy. Most other mammals lose their breasts because keeping breasts don't help the women survive. It only helps attract mates and then and then shit with dicks, right? All like, who needs having an 8-inch, 12-inch penis doesn't help you, doesn't increase the chance of getting someone pregnant, right? He says that most apes have on average a 1.5-inch penis. So there's some shining glimmer of hope for all of my boys out there. Keep going on sex. More on Jared Diamond's claim. Quote, human sexuality might also hold the key for development of complex consciousness. Prolonged exposure to the shifted states that come from sexual arousal may well have nudged us toward expanded awareness. And then a quote from Jamie Wheel, all of the neurochemical priming that makes babies inevitable or our animal nature can also give us access to higher states of awareness, our angel nature. Peak states don't need to be focused on transcending the body through denial and asceticism. The path can begin in the most imminent places of all, our bodies. This is where he introduces the idea of hedonic engineering, pleasure engineering. There's a quote on page 203 I said I should read. I'm going to do that. Where are we? 1 hour? Yeah, we're doing all right. Okay. Hedonic engineers. Hedonic engineering, the human nervous system studying and improving itself. Intelligence studying and improving intelligence. Why be depressed, dumb, and agitated when you can be happy, smart, and tranquil? By Robert Anton Wilson. Engineer, yeah, that's a decent quote. 6 out of 10 probably. So, here we're gonna this hedonic engineering idea is crucial for. In fact, that's like the whole. I guess I don't know why it wasn't introduced earlier in the book, because the whole point is hacking our biochemistry to make us feel good all the time. That's what we're doing when you do breathing techniques, when you listen to music, when you do drugs, when you have sex. We're amplifying our biochemistry, the good parts of our biochemistry. And we'll talk about the ethics behind that in a little bit, but that's like the whole point. We're engineering our environment and our behavior to maximize pleasure and good feelings. Yeah, he's the closest thing researchers have to a patient's brain during MDMA therapy, right? The closest thing to a person's brain when they're doing MDMA is the post-orgasmic state. Dr. Nicole Prowse advocates sexual activity, be it sex, masturbating, or porn, as a useful coping mechanism and an excellent method to improving mood. And I said maybe culture is what skews the moral lines. Sounds like, referring to the end of chapter 10, the whole point of going over breath, suffering, drugs, music, and sex is this concept of hedonic engineering, optimizing the chemicals in our brains to live the most meaningful and pleasant lives. He may have coined this, hedonic engineering. We are all aroused and entertained by sex, food, drugs, music, social media, etc. But awareness is what separates brainwashing and blindness from sovereignty. This is like the ethical part of it, of engaging in all of these pleasure things, right? Engaging in porn, engaging in social media and video games, in TV, in going out and eating a ton of food and drink and drugs. The problem is not the thing, it's our relationship to the thing. It's our dependence on the thing to feel meaning or peace, right? I think this is the argument. And we should be using all of the things that we have to experience more bliss, more rapture, more pleasure, because we have them. And that's why humans as biological creatures, we naturally seek pleasure anyway. And we naturally stay away from uncomfortable or suffering or discomfort rather. Like we don't like to sit in the rain, in the cold, or in the blistering heat. We want shade and we want shelter and we want food and we want comfort. So, there's the balance between subjecting yourself to pain to experience pleasure and to build to build resilience. But naturally, as mammals, as a living thing, we seek pleasure. And so the point is, the argument is, how much pleasure should we engage in to, where's the moral or the ethical line to this? But we're going to get into it. Somewhere in this chapter, he talks about ecstasis, catharsis, and communitas. These are Latin words. Ecstasis, I don't know how to say it, is Latin for ecstasy. It means overwhelming feelings of joy. Catharsis is the process of releasing and thereby finding release from strong or suppressed emotions. And communitas is Latin for community, unstructured community in which people are equal. These are another more essential elements to meaning 3.0. Not sure where, but as I continue reading, these points are constantly brought up, which leads me to assume they're pretty important for meaning 3.0. Yep. Okay. So those are the points for the Alchemist's Cookbook. That's supposedly what's going to, or is a great segue from meaning 2.0, which is enlightenment and inclusivity for everybody, to meaning 3.0, which is emphasizing and maximizing our pleasures, the pleasure centers of our brains. Chapter 11, the final part of part 2, is called An Immodest Proposal. The ability to adjust our state to match our task is invaluable. More on hedonic engineering, a deliberate set of neurophysiological preferences designed to combine peak experiences in service of healing, integration, and connection. It's pushing all the buttons of our reward circuitry. Yeah, it seems crazy, right? Okay, I'm going to keep going. I'm not even going to get into it. He shares the recipe to a sexual yoga of becoming, which is a sexual yoga of becoming is the name of a study that he did to implement these 5 things over 12. His implementation of hedonic engineering over a 12-week study of participants, of couples. So, yeah, he shares he talks about pushing all the pleasure buttons for all these people, in people, to, how does he describe it? Combine peak experiences in service of healing, integration, and connection. I didn't write down his results, the results of the study, so I'll just keep going. Quote, the only difference between a delightful flow state and a destructive compulsion is its positive or negative impact on one's life. Close quote. A crucial element to, quote, providing ecstasis without the crave and catharsis without the cringe, close quote, is hedonic calendaring, periodic abstinence. And then I don't know why he didn't include it in the book. He's like, if you want to learn more about hedonic calendaring, go to my website. And I had to subscribe to a thing and get an email to learn about hedonic calendaring. It's dumb, but hedonic calendaring is broken down into 5 steps. Risk assessment, stack, rank, sort, connection, abstinence. So these are tools that he's developed to engage in and embrace these 5 things. I'll read them again. Respiration, embodiment, sacrament or drugs, sex, and music. Emphasizing using all 5 of those things to experience the deepest sense of meaning, combining, I love how we describe it here, combining peak experiences in service of healing, integration, and connection to find our deepest sense of meaning in the world today. So we talk about pushing all of the pleasure centers in our heads and our brains. Let's talk about the ethics behind it, and what he calls ethical cult building. That's part 3. Yeah, I got a few more minutes. Let's get to it. I got a shit ton of notes. I'm going to try to go through it, appropriately. Part 1 covered the collapse in both meaning 1.0 and 2.0 and the importance of expanding our perspectives, processing our pain, and connecting to each other. Part 2 covered the 5 key components to meaning 3.0, hedonic engineering, a sexual yoga of becoming. Humans are notoriously bad at combining peak experiences and deep healing into powerful connections. Okay, yeah, so here we go. So he says this is what usually happens when we pursue pleasure endlessly. We usually end up in hedonization, the endless pursuit of pleasure, commodification, selling the sacred, selling these things, and weaponization, manipulating of these tools for personal or institutional gain. This part is about creating communitas without the cults, creating the community of equal people. We're all equal, right? The inclusivity, meaning 2.0, creating equality, emphasizing these pleasurable things, but without creating cults and without manipulating or bringing bringing other people down. What's the word? There's a word I'm looking for. Chapter 10, everybody worships. Quote, the social situation that brings it into being is a group of people torn between worlds, trying to make sense of life and a future worth hoping for. Close quote. The combo of ecstasis, overwhelming feelings of joy and happiness, and catharsis, the endless pursuit of something, quote, can get quite culty quick. Close quote. We're vulnerable to cultic tendencies because of generational amnesia, techniques to ecstasy, influencer culture, and rapture ideologies. We're vulnerable to cults because we're human beings, really. We are biologically wired to follow alphas among us. We want to fear, fight, follow, fuck them, and it is common to confuse our interoception, how our bodies feel or what they want, with what these influential people want from us. That he goes over, there's 3 different kinds of cults. There's traditional cults, culty cults, and ethical cults. And this is one that he's coining, ethical cults. Traditional cults demand subjugation of the self to the lineage, like religions. Culty cults demand subjugation of the self to the guru, like Teal Swan, that she, her whole thing, Teal Swan. And then there's ethical cults, seeks to enhance the sovereignty of the individual while increasing the intelligence of the collective, owning our power while deferring to a higher power. Yeah, sovereignty is the key difference. He has a culty cult checklist on page 251. I don't know if I want to go through. I got to keep going. Okay, I'll do it really quick. Yeah, I got it right here. Culty cult checklist. What not to do. Grabbing the ring of power. Creating in and out groups. This is what bad cults do. This is what you do not want to do. Weaponizing peak experiences and healing. Yeah, those 3 things. And then they're broken down into lots of other steps. That's it. Let's keep going. Chapter 13, Ethical Culture Toolbox. Meaning 1.0 is composed of 5 elements. So religion. Religion is composed of metaphysics, ethics, sacraments, scripture, and deities. Metaphysics, I don't know if I totally understand. I did a little bit of research on it. But metaphysics, as he describes, is the guide to keep our bearings when venturing beyond the pale to find our way back home. Yeah, I think it's, how does my phone define metaphysics? Metaphysics, the branch of philosophy that deals with the first principles of things, including abstract concepts such as being, knowing, substance, cause, identity, time, and space. Yeah, that doesn't help. I'm struggling with what metaphysics actually are, but he describes them as the bearings, a guide to keep our bearings when venturing beyond the pale to find our way back home. So, hey, mashed potatoes, if you're still listening, what do you know about metaphysics? Yeah, so the 3 tools to consider with in metaphysics is Pascal's wager, Occam's razor, and Bayesian probability. I'm not going to go through them. Let's keep going. under ethics. I'll say here too that he's taking these 5 elements from meaning 1.0 and including them here in meaning 3.0 so that we can create an ethical cult of whatever we're talking about of a meaning 3.0 ethical cult using the same principles but doing it the right way. So metaphysics, I guess we just have to keep our bearings about us as we venture beyond the pale and be reasonable adults using tools like Pascal's wager, Occam's razor, and Bayesian probability. Ethics, he shares, ecstatic experiences are inherently antinomian, which means any view which rejects laws or legalism and argues against moral, religious, or social norms. It's like a religion saying that we are going to behave this way, even if it's against the law, because this is what God wants out of us, right? That's what antinomian means. And ecstatic experiences are inherently antinomian. They're not bound by laws or principles. They are just our peak experiences. So ethically, what we need to do is develop liberating structures. So he comes up with like a replacement to the 10 commandments. He calls them the 10 suggestions. They are: do the obvious. Don't do stupid shit. Let the mystery stay the mystery. I've got so many notes on all of these because I was just so interested in all of them. But I want to respect everybody's time. Let the mystery stay the mystery. The 4th one, 80-20, awoken to broken. 5, fuck your journey. 6, do the hard thing. 7, never lose the one. 8, it's not that either. I'm not going to go into all of them. I don't have a ton of time. 9, practice resurrection. And 10, above all, be kind. These are ethics. These are liberating structures developed by developmental psychologists to replace the certainty of morals with the situational relevance of ethics, where it's no longer the act that's right or wrong, but it's the relationship to the act that determines its value. The 3rd one is sacraments, which are, it's like drugs, doing drugs, right? Quote, there can be no society which does not feel the need of upholding and reaffirming at regular intervals the collective sentiments and ideas which make its unity and personality. That's by Emil Durkheim. Our boy Jamie Wheel says, Christ made more Christians than he did additional Christs. Buddha made more Buddhists than fellow Buddhas, and Bruce Lee inspired more copycats than true martial artists. The point here in sacraments is an ethical cult will have ritual and routine to to center yourself, to recenter yourself time and time again. And my only experience with sacraments is the Mormon sacrament, but it's the exact same idea. You show up to church once a week, you participate in like actual eating bread and drinking water, a communion type thing, and an ethical, and then we're taking that practice and putting it into an ethical cult of meaning 3.0. The 4th one is scriptures, even if they aren't the traditional words or stories of religions. Quote, people who read narratives develop stronger social cognition than those who don't. We're kinder and wiser when we can imagine the lives of others. If you're not, if we're going to develop an ethical cult for meaning 3.0, we need scriptures. We need scriptures and we need deities. Read the last chapter that starts on page 278 on deities. All right. Maybe why I got so many notes is because I read 80% of this book, like the copy. I sat down and read most of it. So maybe that's why I got so many freaking notes. So instead of insisting that our gods are all powerful and all good, while shunting the unavoidable suffering of life into shadowy forces of evil, can we heed the leprechaun's warning? Sometimes the divine goes our way, sometimes it doesn't. And figuring out the why behind that is beyond the ken of mortal folk. Does that sentence make sense? Sometimes the divine goes our way, sometimes it doesn't. And figuring out the why behind that is beyond the ken of mortal folk. There we go. Instead, can we keep on doing our best to take radical responsibility for our lives and our part in the bigger scheme, but also hold it all loosely and be as wary of false certainty as any other false idol? Yeah, he doesn't suggest what to believe or what deities to have, but he shares. Well, I'll say too, in my life, I've described before, I don't know if I would consider myself a nun like he describes, a spiritual but religiousness. I don't even know if I'm that spiritual, but I do embrace the fact and the phenomenon and the awe that we all come from Mother Nature. All humans, all living things, all things come from Mother Nature, from the earth. And in fact, all of us humans are made from the same things that are made from the stars, right? We're all made of star stuff, which is this is fascinating and awe-inspiring to me. I would consider Mother Nature my only deity. And I took a note on my thoughts on this. I said, Mother Nature is our only certain goddess. Everything we have comes from her. Whether she came from someone or something else is up for debate. All that is certain is she created all things and that her desires are fundamentally random. Quote, we refuse to accept that sometimes life is random, that sometimes good things happen to shitty people and sometimes shitty things happen to good people. If we refuse to acknowledge the trickster element in life, then we have to go to almost insane and occasionally pathological lengths to prop up our just so stories where everything happens for a reason. That's where I stand religiously. That's probably one of the best descriptions of where I stand, or not religiously, but spiritually. And if I want to practice, and I should, I think like we're describing here, we experience the deepest sense of meaning through routine practice of like the things that come from meaning 1.0, ethics, metacognition, sacraments, or not metacognition, but metaphysics, ethics, sacraments, scriptures, and deities. Wow, dude, you're religious AF. Yeah, you know me, dude. Religious AF. All right, that's like the bulk of the notes. So chapter 14, 15 will be a little quicker, and then we're done. Chapter 14 is Team Omega. Team Omega are, quote, truly surrendered humans, joyfully committed to expanding the infinite game. Here's where I'll kind of explain the infinite and finite games. It's a idea that came from a short story that from another guy earlier in the book. I skipped right over it. But in life, there are finite games and there are infinite games. Finite games are things like wars, or I actually took a good note on it. Let's see if I can find it. I don't want to take too much time scrolling, looking for where I shared something about. Fuck. I don't know where it's at. But finite games are things in life like wars and sexual negotiations and political arrangements. These are finite games. These are where there's a clear and distinct winner or a clear and distinct loser. Infinite games are a little bit more. They're tougher to play, and the way he describes them is, remember when you're a kid and you're playing with your siblings and you're doing, like, I can remember personally, and this is the direct example, playing video games with my brothers and just being better because they were young and didn't know how to play, and I would kick their ass. And what you do is you give them handicaps, or you make special rules to make things fair so that you can continue playing. That's what infinite games are, and that's what this idea of Team Omega is. Truly surrendered humans joyfully committed to expanding the infinite game, to allow everybody in life the alchemist cookbook of respiration, embodiment, music, sex, and sacraments or drugs. We allow everybody to contribute, and we make the playing field fair for everybody. We develop this ethical cult so we can practice these things without removing people's sovereignty, and in fact enhancing people's sovereignty, giving people ownership and responsibility and accountability for their decisions and their actions. This is Team Omega, and we're working together. We're all working together to enhance our own and everyone else's experiences, to improve the condition of the world, and to continue to progress and grow and live and function as humans. This is Meaning 3.0. So, and this is Team Omega. He talks about Christogenesis, which is coined by Teilhard de Chardin. Chardin, I don't know if that's how you say it. Christogenesis, he adds it on with self-transcendence at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Christogenesis is defined as the dynamic presence of God in evolution, the creative entanglement of divine and created life in the movement toward wholeness and fulfillment. It's kind of believed as, it can be described as as rapture, as the second coming of Christ, as Christogenesis is working together to bring unification in the world. He goes over the concept of chronos and kairos, which are two Greek words to define time. Chronos is a linear, discrete clock time, like calendar, past, present, future, and kairos is what's described as sacred time. It's the moments in life that you experience where you feel like you transcend your body, you transcend physical reality, where you experience some deep sense of meaning deep experiences that you can't measure. You don't measure. What he says, it's like the profundity of a near-death experience, moments of bliss, like collective effervescence. Trying to measure these moments linearly, like chronos, is irrelevant. The point is these moments feel like eternity. Yeah, sweet. So that's Team Omega, and we want to have as many of those kairos moments as possible. That's those moments of transcendence, of moments of bliss, to enhance the quality of our lives. And then chapter 15, the final chapter, Pondering the Yonder. The Alchemist Cookbook, which is part 2, is designed to give everyone a chance to turn thousands of years of religiosity on its head and replace it with self-authenticating techniques of ecstasy. That's the point. Sweet. Page 300, he shares the 10 components that make up the 5 techniques. I don't need to share them again. Develop a faith that Quaker theologian Elton Trubla describes as not belief without proof, but trust without reservation. I love that description for faith. I got to take this call. Give me 1 second. I'm back. Sorry, lots of pauses. I had interrupted from some work, but that's okay. We're back. We're gonna finish this up. So, yes, I love that quote from the Quaker theologian Elton Trubla. Uh, Develop a faith described as not belief without proof, but trust without reservation. Yeah, because part of what we're doing here is, like at the top of in the introduction, part of what we're doing here is replacing blind faith with direct experience, and we can do that by taking responsibility and accountability for our decisions, our actions, our thoughts, and then using like these direct application things to enhance the quality of our life, to experience deeper connection with people, and create trust without reservation. Exploring what to believe, rational mysticism uses logic and deductive reasoning while allowing for what lies beyond our understanding. He calls it rational mysticism. When you're exploring what to believe, yes, use logic and deductive reasoning while allowing for what lies beyond our understanding. This is part of the 10 suggestions that he uses. Let the mystery remain the mystery. To expand on that just a little bit, I think it's a really important part to this process is if you're part of the magic of religion is it's like a continual effort to understand something. And part of why that's so important or impactful is because you're always engaged in it, which means you're always learning and you're always improving if you're doing it with the right intention. And if you're studying a subject and you learn all the information, or you decide that I have all the information, I know all the things, you're going to stop learning and you're going to stagnate and you're going to regress and you're going to become ignorant. And so part of let the mystery remain the mystery is a powerful and is a really important part to this whole process. So, as he says here, rational mysticism is using logic and deductive reasoning while we explore what to believe, but we also need to allow for what lies beyond our understanding. We can't allow ourselves to think we have all the answers. This is why doing a podcast like this and continuing to read and continuing to talk about the same things and exploring these ideas will help us become wiser, healthier, wealthier, and more peaceful because we're continually engaged in it. So letting the mystery remain, like there's not an end to self-improvement. You don't just say like, I have learned all the things and I'm 100% ready, or I'm 100% maxed on self-improvement. I have all the answers. I know how to do everything. So I'm going to stop reading. I'm going to stop talking about it. And I'm just going to have you block yourself and you won't be able to progress at that point. You have to continue engaging in it. We are all made of star stuff. We are the thinking and feeling parts of the universe, the consciousness of the universe attempting to understand itself. Mwah. That's Mother Nature, baby. Mwah. Beautiful. Quote, if we deny the sacred, the mundane will crush us. If we deny the mundane, the sacred will burn us. But once we accept both, we die to our lives of separation. If we deny the sacred, the mundane will crush us. If we deny the mundane, the sacred will burn us. All right, that's the end of the book. In the conclusion, he talks about the 4 horsemen we need to hitch that will usher in the Omega point. The 4 horsemen are Danger Mouse, Tank Man, Soul Force, and Radical Hope. There's been so much content in this book, but Danger Mouse is face danger instead of running from it. Tank Man is memento mori, so that it's easier to face danger. Soul Force is, quote, possibility grows from moving goodness forward in the world. We got to come together. And then Radical Hope is hope directed toward a future goodness that transcends our current ability to understand what it is. That's a quote by Jonathan Lear. Law is a big book, baby. An hour, 45 minutes in with a couple interruptions. Sorry about that. Thanks for sticking it out with me. That was Recapture the Rapture by Jamie Wheel, rethinking God, sex, and death in a world that's lost its mind. So do you think we answered those, do you think we answered the questions or that we've, that's a plausible theory or method to reintroduce or introduce a new source of meaning for people? If meaning 1.0 was religion and meaning 2.0 came from self-awareness or self-importance, like individuality and inclusivity, does meaning 3.0 do a good job at combining both the religiosity aspect of 1, the inclusivity and individuality of 2, while also using what we know about our biochemistry? I don't think doing drugs and sex and music and breathing and embodiment are going to solve the conflict in Russia and Ukraine. And it's not going to solve climate change. It's not going to solve social injustice. It's not going to solve political corruption or corporation corruption. Those things aren't going to solve those problems. They're going to allow us and you individually to have more meaning in your own life. But what do we do for the way that the world is now? That's a really good question. And I don't know if we've answered that part. I think if everybody in the world engaged in this ish behavior, adjusted for culture and society, right, of course, to make it all inclusive, then we'll all be able to move forward and work together. But yeah, it doesn't solve wars and why people go to war, or does it? So tough. It's I don't know if we really answered anything in this book, but what I really do appreciate how we can introduce this is we're searching for meaning in life. He's introduced the Alchemist's Cookbook, which is not really even searching for. That's not how to have meaning in life. The Alchemist Cookbook is how to experience the most intense experiences, pleasant experiences: sex, drugs, music, breathing, embodiment. But to find meaning is to do those things responsibly and to do them with people, right? To do them with people that you care about, but also not being bound to them, not relying on those things for peace. Having hedonic calendaring, spreading out your events. You're not doing drugs all the time, and you're not fucking whoever you want whenever you want. It's all within the realm of moderation, I guess, and intention and sovereignty. So I don't know. Maybe this book is a bunch of bullshit, but I really enjoyed it. So that was that. Next week, let's talk about next week. We're going to be doing, I bought 2 books, and I think the one I'm going to do is A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. Remember this guy? Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. Remember Eckhart Tolle wrote The Power of Now. This was, I went walking through I was looking for a religious, not even religious, but a spiritual book. So I went through the what was the aisle called at Barnes & Noble? Self-transformative? I think it was self-transformative. And 99% of the books were understanding your tarot cards and astrology, and it was a bunch of bullshit. But I was looking around because the 4 Agreements was in there, The Power of Now was in there, lots of books that we've read, but there's not a lot of other books. But there was this. This isn't a sequel to The Power of Now. It's just another installment by the boy. Eckhart Tolle. So, this book. Let's see if there's a little description. In A New Earth, Tolle expands on these powerful ideas from The Power of Now to show how transcending our ego-based state of consciousness is not only essential to personal happiness, but also the key to ending conflict and suffering throughout the world. There's the answer. Maybe that's the answer to all of the things that Jamie Wheel is talking about in Recapture the Rapture. He's going to talk about how these things are essential to bring the world together so that we can actually just do drugs and have sex like Wheel wants. totally describes how our attachment to the ego creates the dysfunction that leads to anger, jealousy, and unhappiness, and shows readers how to awaken to a new state of consciousness and follow the path to a truly fulfilling existence. Nice. That's it. We're done. Thanks for showing up, guys. Mashed potatoes, you're always the one coming through with the comments, and appreciate you. If you want to catch this book live next week, go to my blog, cadenkellysblog.wordpress.com. Go to my YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, and give me a follow. Turn on your notifications. We do it live on Mondays, sometime in the morning-ish time, Mountain Standard Time. It's the 14th, so we should be here just fine, no problem. On the blog, you'll find links to my social media where I post TikToks. I've been posting daily TikToks. I write once a week. Or I do my best to write once a week. I struggle with my writing habit, but I try to write. I do the TikToks and the blog. I do a shorter podcast called Here's the Point, where I'll consolidate all this information into 15 minutes or less. You can find all of that on the blog, cadenkellysblog.wordpress.com. We'll see you next time. Thanks again for showing up. We're out of here.